Hello.
Hello.
What's up, everybody?
You guys get a surprise treat.
I
You don't
know.
have to deal with Zach. You get to deal with me.
No, you get to deal.
With the waifu for lifeu.
I mean, it's either that or I have to deal with someone who has a migraine. I'd rather not deal with someone who has a migraine.
No, he went
Migraine
into
boy.
her room and locked the door. I couldn't even
She
use
can't even
her.
get into her own bedroom now.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is a thing.
That's Zach for you. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another Comics and Coffee.
I just drank my coffee.
I know. I had a coffee this morning, and I'm trying to limit it to one per day because I think 3 a day is excessive and unnecessary. So there's that.
I've been doing one coffee or tea, and then I do a Soylent coffee, so it's kind of like having two, but the Soylent coffee has some protein and calories and things.
Yeah.
Gotta feel yourself somehow.
True. Very true. Very true. I've been trying to do this like wake up at 5 a.m. thing. I've been sleeping.
Why?
You know, because we don't have enough hours in the day, and we all 4 of us have way too much to do.
Yeah, I tried that, and then I realized I just stay up too late. You know, there's I'm a CEO, and I've read all these articles about like how CEOs should spend their time, and the average, you know, they wake up between like 4 and like 6:30 usually. They wake up really early. They use their commute to take meetings. Then they do meetings all week. They usually spend an average of 2 hours per day speaking to the customer. So that's what I'm doing right now. And then they take more meetings on their way home, but they all go to bed at like 10:30.
Yeah.
And we can't do that because we're still broadcasting.
Yeah, it's really tough. It's tough. I try to go to bed as early as I can so I can get up early. But yeah, like yesterday was one of those days where I had an alarm.
No, we were all like
5:15, 5:30, 5:45, and I didn't get out of bed till 8:30. And I was like, well, shit, there's 3 hours, but it is what it is. Yeah, and it's tough because like a lot of times we'll be working on stuff throughout the day, so everything that we were working on or trying to prioritize has to automatically shift to the evening.
Yeah.
So yeah,
tough.
a lot of us, you know, will be up till 2, 3, 4. Some of us have even like fallen asleep in the office before.
I feel like I'm the one that wakes you up. I'm like, don't do that. It's bad for your neck.
I did it 2 days ago, and I went and I got in bed at like 6 in the morning, and I was like, all right, I got to give myself at least 3 hours. But, you know.
And then, you know, it's the beginning of the year, so everybody's like, exercise. And I'm like, ooh.
I know.
I do.
I feel like my brain exercises so much.
I do 10 push-ups before I get into the shower, and that's about it.
That's something. That's something.
something.
I'm excited to be here, though. Unfortunately, because of just like how crazy our day has been so far.
And Zach just being like, I can't make it. And I was like, I still want to talk about comic books.
Yeah.
So I just like speed read a whole bunch.
I started reading a couple things, and I didn't really get to finish one or the other, but I did catch up on Crisis on Infinite Earths. And spoilers, do you care?
I don't think I'm gonna watch
Look
it.
at Naeem.
Zach actually was watching it because he wanted to talk to you guys about it, and he pointed at the screen, and there was Supergirl, the Flash, and the back of some old white guy's head, and he says, "Oh, look, it's your friend." And I'm like, "Who are you talking to? I don't know these actors." Okay, I follow them on Instagram, but I don't know who these people are. And he's like, "No, it's your friend." And then it showed another clip, and it was the front of the old white guy's head. And I was like, "Oh, that's so awesome! It's Marv Wolfman."
Yeah.
And he's not my friend, but I guess I like made friends with him at Comic-Con one year. And he loves storytelling in video games, and I'm a game designer,
cool.
so we like jammed out about that. And then I followed him on Twitter, and then he followed me back.
That's
so I guess he's like my friend.
I mean,
but
that's pretty great.
I love that a lot of the new TV shows and movies, they pay homage to like people who've done the voice, people who create the characters. So
and he was a co-writer. I don't know if it was on the last episode of Crisis on Infinite Earths, but he was the co-writer on the episode before that where he has his cameo, which I thought was really cool because I mean, if you're gonna get anybody to cameo in Crisis on Infinite Earths, it's Marv Wolfman,
right? And
I love the part where he's like, "Oh, can you sign this photo for me?" And they're like, "Have we always been on the same Earth together?" And he's like, "Yeah, you have. Can you make it out to Marv MARV?" And I'm like, "That's like nailing the thing in the coffin, being like, this is Marv Wolfman, in fact." But I think as someone who has selectively watched, very particular episodes of those shows, I think you and Zach are definitely more caught up than me, even though you may not be on the current season. I think overall, you guys have definitely watched more episodes than I have.
We watch a lot of TV almost every night. And if we're not watching TV together, he's reading comic books and I'm reading books. Usually.
Right.
That's what is going on. So yeah, we're TV people.
I know. Well, it was crazy because I think a lot of people were speculating that Crisis on Infinite Earths was going to be a way for them to take, because the CW universe, some of those characters don't exist all on the same Earth. Like Batwoman exists on a different Earth with compared to Supergirl and Black Lightning. And I feel like, a lot of that was because Supergirl started on CBS and then was brought over to the CW. And this, I think a lot of people are speculating, like, this is going to be their way where they're going to take all those different universes and go and just bring them all together. And they did. And it was kind of cool. It's different from the comic book, but like it takes a lot of those same inspirations and stuff. And I think it was a smart idea to just put all those heroes in one thing. Because I think after a while, the constant of like, well, let's go to this Earth to get this hero for this mission to go do that thing. You waste so much time doing that.
Yeah.
And now in this like finale episode of Crisis, it's just like Flash just shows up and it's like, what are you doing on my Earth? This is my Earth. Great. We don't have to deal with that shit
anymore.
You're
a hero. One of us.
It's perfect. And then in the penultimate episode of Crisis, they brought in Ezra Miller's Flash.
Oh, wow.
From the movie.
Oh, damn.
And that was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, already in the first episode, they did this like montage of all the Earths being destroyed, and we saw like Batman 66 with Burt Ward. We saw the Smallville universe. We saw Birds of Prey. We saw just so many different things. The Batman 89 universe from the Michael Keaton era.
But they were all like little glimpses.
Yeah, and we got to see like maybe one actor. But the fact that they used an actor from the current cinematic continuity, I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
I was really surprised. And because I just never thought that they would let them do it, because I feel like Warner Brothers movies and TV have been so separated.
Yeah.
And there are so many.
Maybe they're learning from Disney.
Maybe. But there's also so many just like rules that they have where you can't use Batman because he's such a like pinnacle of DC. You can't put him in the show. You can't put him in these other movies, even though Gotham has like a weird Batman in the finale and stuff. And it was just really cool to see a version of these characters that like people outside of the TV world know. We had Brandon Routh as Superman, but even that's already 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's Jesus. Wow. So even that already is like cool. That's really like for fans, like really tight comic book superhero movie fans to be able to experience that. But to have Ezra Miller show up in a TV show in the Flash suit was so cool. And when he has his interaction with Barry from our Earth, he ends up fading away, and they never really reestablish what Earth he's from.
Okay.
Which I feel like that's the safe way of doing it, where it's like, hey, we want to put this cool actor who plays this character in our show, but let's not get into the details of it. And like, would I love to see that paid off in a movie at some point, where Flash in his own movie is like, dude, I went to this. He's talking to like Victor Stone, and he's like, dude, I went to this other universe, and like the multiverse is real. Maybe, because I know that the director of that upcoming Flash movie was talking about the like Flashpoint, which deals with not necessarily the multiverse, but it deals with like time travel and resetting of time.
Well, I was going to say the Flash TV show itself is already kind of like it's multiple Earths and multiple Flashes and that kind of thing. And you're like, whoa. But it's kind of set up as like the Flash caused this for his own personal reasons, and it was bad. And so for now, them to just be like, well, now we need to group up and it's okay, is like, oh, all right. Yeah,
it was fun. This is definitely their like Avengers Endgame, not in terms of like story, but it's like this type of big event.
Right.
And Arrow is obviously ending, and they do a really nice send off to that character. And you kind of see the first beginning stages of the Justice League. And I love it. Like, Superman is in this universe now, and he's not the main character.
Yeah.
But I don't really care.
Sure.
I'm totally fine with it being Flash, Supergirl, Batwoman, and the Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah. The Legends of Tomorrow, can I just say, that's one of our biggest influences on Power Rangers Hyperforce.
It's such a fun show.
It's a fun show. Everybody knows what it is.
Yes.
Captain Cole hams it up. It's great.
And I think that's what makes that show work so incredibly well is they are very aware of the fact that they don't have $10 million an episode.
No.
They have a big cast. They have crazy concepts like Bebo
do musical episodes. Yes, the Bebo.
I mean, like, you got to just lean into the cheeses.
Yeah, but I mean, that I feel like honors its comic book heritage more than some of the like really gritty dark stuff we see in the theaters.
Yeah, and I was looking at the poster for this upcoming season, and it's doing more time travel. They're going like back to the West, and I'm like, yeah, man. John Constantine is on the team now.
Yeah.
You know, they have like all these fun characters. I'm like, dude, just go do your thing. You don't need to worry about like some people get so bent out of shape about it being like this like comedic show. I'm like, it's fine. It doesn't need to be something so serious.
Yeah, for
I think interesting thing that it did though at the end of the episode. It kind of went back through all the different worlds, and it really reestablishes what universe some of these Earths and these characters exist in. Like the Titans from the DC universe don't exist in the same world as Swamp Thing, who also don't exist in the same world as the Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
It's 3 different Earths.
Right.
I think for a while, even I was under the assumption that Doom Patrol and Titans were all in the same Earth.
Oh, well, Swamp Thing definitely felt like just
its own thing.
It's stylistically moved, just like the way the characters develop. I really like that show.
I love the fact that they actually like gave it a shout out too, because I think a lot of people are big fans of it, and I think for them it was like, hey, let's like shout this out because it is a show that exists in the DC universe, which I thought was cool. They even give a shout out to Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern.
Oh.
Which I was like, okay. So we're going to completely skip all the other successful franchises and go to Green Lantern. Okay.
It has a special place in their hearts.
Yeah. Which I'm like, I'm not too upset about that because they are going to do an HBO Max Green Lantern show.
Yeah.
So now that they've done that, I'm thinking, is it going to tie into that HBO Max series? But it won't be Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern. It'll maybe be like Jon Stewart, Simon Baz, Jessica Cruz. Like maybe it'll be the same universe. But we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. It was a fun crossover thing. Let's see. Ezra Miller's Flash won't remember. He's not a paragon. That's very true. So each hero from each show is a paragon, which basically they represent either truth or love or hope, and they have to basically come together to defeat the Anti-Monitor. And anyone who doesn't fall into that category, they forget what happens.
Oh, no.
And Martian Manhunter, being one of the paragons, he's able to restore the memories of the other members of the teams who don't remember. So I guess that's true. I guess because there's no Martian Manhunter on his universe who can like restore his memory. He'll never remember it. So fair point. I forgot about that.
I feel like I heard the same storyline when I watched Digimon as a child. The crest of friendship, love.
I mean, so many of these like comic book things are borrowed from so many other things and vice versa.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah, I mean, overall, like, look, it was a fun crossover. Some episodes were not as strong as others.
Yeah.
I feel like the last 2 they did the best job with, and they felt like the best paced.
Yeah.
I know when Zach and I talked about the first 3 episodes that came out last month, it was like boom, action. It was almost jarring. It was so fast paced that it was a little off putting. But this I felt like was paced a lot better, at least for a CW show. Oh, and they also Black Lightning is also part of the universe.
I love Black Lightning. Okay, so that one's so I love them all for different reasons.
Of course.
But Black Lightning has the best family dynamic in like any TV show I've watched in a long time.
Wow.
I really, really like that family.
I really
because they like
1.
love each other. It's not this dysfunctional, broken family. Yeah, they have some disagreements, but like there's this one scene in one of the episodes where the 2 daughters just go jogging with their dad and they're just like joking and smiling, and I'm like, this is so wonderful.
This is family.
Yes, this is family, and so many superheroes are orphans and broken inside, and I'm like, no, this person's a great dad, and these are great daughters, and they're great sisters to each other, and I feel like the superpowers just kind of make it a more interesting story, but the actors themselves are really strong at portraying that family dynamic.
Yeah, no, I agree. I haven't seen season 2 yet, and I've heard from a lot of people that season 2 is not as strong as season 1, which I guess I kind of get that vibe considering no one's talking about it.
It's more fractured, but then you get to see more like development of Anissa and some of the other characters, so I don't like... you already know some things, so there's not as many like and then surprise.
Right.
But I mean, I guess I kind of fell off of it too, so maybe that's a truth.
Sure. But I do think that like officially bringing that show into the main Earth Prime, as they're calling it now, I think a lot more people are going to be like, oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch this now, because now it actually matters, because it could tie in to all, these other 4 shows. And we're getting a brand new Green Arrow show, which is going to have his daughter, and Laurel will be I think she's going to be Canary. I think it's called Green Arrow and the Canaries, I believe. But I think they're going to just continue expanding that. And like Superman and Lois are getting their own show. CW Network is basically just going to become DC Universe on cable.
I mean, they all have great hair.
They do.
Have you noticed that? All the ladies with long hair,
I know, have
the same size barrel curling iron. They all have this hair. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun.
It was, and I really liked Brandon Routh as Superman, so seeing him as Superman again was so cool. And he dies in one of the episodes. His body gets traded with Lex Luthor's, but then at the end, when they're going through and they're recapping sort of like the reestablishing of all those Earths, they go to Earth 96, and it's a very much like an homage to Christopher Reeve, because he's technically that same Superman.
Yeah.
But it's like him flying into frame, and he's flying past the Earth, and he smiles at the camera, and I'm like, this is so good. I want this as a show. Maybe with HBO Max, we'll give Brandon Routh a Superman show, because I felt like he was done dirty. He got such a poor movie, and let's not even make another one with Brett Ratner and Kevin Spacey. Let's just let Brandon Routh be Superman and bring in some new dope characters. John Henry Irons, Jimmy Olsen, more Lois Lane. Well, I guess technically she died. So did Jimmy Olsen. Shit.
Oops.
But I mean, there's just so much potential.
You can always bring people back.
You can always bring people back. Plus, there's other characters in that universe. You could have Lana Lang or whoever come back into that story and stuff. But it's just fun. I have loved the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I grew up a DC kid, so seeing something like that on TV, I never would have expected it, and I'm really glad it exists, because it just made me really happy and excited. And I want DC to have a very prosperous cinematic future, and I think some of their movies have been great, some of their movies I have not liked, but I hope going forward with Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman, Shazam 2, Black Adam, Aquaman, the Batman, the Suicide Squad, everything that they're making, I want to just walk out and be like, yes, let's go, let's keep going.
Well, what I really like about the DC TV shows is that you get to have time, and sometimes a lot of time, with one character, and you really get to see kind of their growth and evolution. Even on Legends of Tomorrow, especially the Captain, just a lot of different, her in different situations, and she grows as a captain, and then she mentors other people, and she relates to them. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah,
she's
where
great.
There are some characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where I still don't know who they are.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And some of them haven't even had their own movie yet. Yeah. So I'm I get you are Robot Wings, but who are you? You know? So
yeah, and I'm hoping that those Marvel TV or Disney Plus TV shows kind of
WandaVision.
Yeah, we've spent Bucky and Falcon have been such pivotal characters and supporting characters to Steve.
Yeah.
But I want to know who they are as just characters on their own. And especially for Anthony Mackie, for Sam.
Yes.
Establishing yourself as Captain America in a world
what is that
post
be like?
Captain America. And what does the legacy of Steve Rogers mean to him?
Yeah.
And how does he take that on as his own thing and not live in the shadow of a World War II veteran?
Yeah.
There's just so many themes that can be played with, and I do hope that the show explores that on top of being a really fun action adventure. Probably be a little bit comedic with those two. Those two are just like a hoot to watch on social media and stuff. But it seems like a lot of people on both on Twitch and on YouTube had a really fun time with this show. Kevin Conroy finally playing a live action Bruce Wayne. I know
you had mixed feelings about Batman.
I did. Well, because for two reasons. One, because it's the first time we're seeing Kevin Conroy in live action, and the fact that he plays a Batman who is murderous and has lost control of his humanity and his civility and all that sort of stuff, and he just goes on a rampage. But because he's not the prime Batman, he's not the Batman of the main Earth, I'm a lot more forgiving to it, because I don't think Batman from every single multiverse should be the same.
Sure.
Look at Flashpoint. Flashpoint establishes that Thomas Wayne survives. His mother, his wife and son are killed, and he turns to a life of being more of an anti-hero where he like uses guns and violence and all that sort of stuff. So it's like on one half, I'm like, man, I really wish that he was the animated series Bruce Wayne Batman, but I'm also not upset because it's a different world and they're obviously doing it for reasons to help sort of like support the story and support Batwoman's story and her arc as a character. So it's like, I get it.
Can I just say on Flash, that character, HR, whatever.
Tom Cavanaugh's character?
Yes.
Yeah.
What are they doing? What have they done?
Man. I don't know.
They were just like, we like you as an actor. Now be French. You know, like.
I know. In Crisis, he becomes pariah, and you're just like, dude, if we love Tom Cavanaugh so much, just let him be one character.
Yeah, let him develop. I mean, I guess they did, and then they're like, now, let's have fun.
I think he's been 4 different versions.
He's been,
if not more.
I can't even keep track of it anymore. And
I have no clue who he is now.
I think, like Flash and Supergirl have given the actors the most kind of space to be really great actors.
Yeah.
I think, what's his name? Joe. The father in Flash. I think he's like the best actor on the show.
Yeah,
like
I don't
fantastic.
I think last season was his last. Like he's not on the show
graduated,
anymore. Yeah, he's graduated. He's gone on.
Well,
to
he
bigger,
went.
better things.
Yeah, like he got remarried.
Yeah. I think it's also cool that those shows allow a lot of people to come in and be directors.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the same thing for Smallville. Like I know Tom Welling, Michael Rosenbaum, and a few of the other actors. Like they were like, "Oh, I'm going to try my hand at directing," and then like they also move up into producer positions with it, which I think is cool. Like we've had a lot of really great directors on all of these shows. Like even for Kevin Smith to come in and to direct a few episodes, like that's huge for comic book lovers because he's so tied in to that universe. And like, yeah, he can go off and make his indie movies, but to have him do some DC shows is really cool. And I know a few other actors from those shows are really trying their hand at directing.
That's great.
And even some like this episode of Crisis, the last one, it was directed by Gregory Smith, and he's like the WB veteran. He was on Everwood. He was the main actor on Everwood, and now he's like turned to a life of directing, and he's been directing episodes of Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow. So it's like they're very much open to creativity and letting actors try different things, whether it's producing or directing. And I think that's really cool. I think that's how you cultivate and nurture a really strong family. And even if the shows are not the best, like you can still have fun making stuff together. And like they have the money to do it. They're Warner Brothers.
No, and when you do a show for so many seasons like that, I think the cast becomes like a family too.
100%. Yeah. He is currently Noah Wells, an Indiana Jones type character.
Yeah, HW. I don't know. Like, I can't even keep track of like the different variations of his names.
Yeah. And like I'm pretty sure that they're all versions of him throughout the multiverse, which I think is cool. And like you see everyone saying like I love all of Tom Cavanaugh versions. They bring different versions back at different times, and he made me really emotionally feel for 3 of them. Yeah. Like I think that's really, really cool. I guess I just like, and he's also been directing some episodes too, so I think it's cool to keep him in the family. Yeah. It's just at some point I'm like...
At a certain point I'm like, oh, okay, it's like you but French. All right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you can make him like, there have been like 8 or 9 Wells. That's nuts. That's nuts. But then again, we've had like John Wesley Shipp. He played Barry's dad in season 1. And then he played the Flash from Earth 2.
Oh, yeah.
And then he played Flash from the 90s, which, like, that makes sense because that's who he played. But I love seeing him playing different versions of, like, of the Flash. That's really, really fun. So it's like they just did a really good job bringing in characters from all these different universes that have been part of the legacy of DC Comics. And, like, let them play those versions. And some of them survive and some of them don't. And that's fine.
Speaking of different versions, do you want to like segue into some comic books?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
You read way more than I did.
Okay, I did. Should we go down the list? Actually, I wanted to talk about Iron Man 2020.
Okay.
Because, Iron Man and I, we're besties.
That's right.
Apparently.
You guys hung out together in a movie once.
Yeah, we hung out. I was in his movie. So Iron Man...
That's not a lie, by the way. That's true.
Iron Man 2020... It was so weird that Emily was like the last to find out, and she flipped out, and everybody else was like, "I've heard this story, Malika."
What?
So, basically, it sums up.
Dan Slott was
yeah.
there. Oh, cool.
How do you go back to like the not the page that you're on?
If you like hover down at the bottom, yeah, you can go browse pages.
Okay, and we'll go all the way to the beginning.
All the way to the beginning.
Here we go.
Oh yeah,
so
we're at the very end.
Well, this is like the director's cut.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of like extra stuff on there, script and all that whatnot.
Like too much extra stuff. All right, so what is the story about? Basically, it tells you. Tony Stark revealed to the world that he is an AI construct, an artificial body, and the true Tony Stark is dead. His adoptive brother, Arno Stark, and Arno's business partner, Sunset Bane, used Tony's admission to seize control of Stark Unlimited and all its assets, including the Iron Man name. New year, new Iron Man. Iron Man 2020.
Interesting.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I remember
What?
You mentioned something that was an Easter egg in last night, or the Crisis on Infinite Earths episode.
What? I'm sure it's probably something that I already thought about.
You're missing the greatest cameo of all time. In the final moments of the episode, they spanned across a crate that read Gleek.
Oh, Gleek, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
From the Wonder Twins. Yeah, and they played the music from the Super Friends show.
The best. That was the best cameo ever.
That's all she cares about.
Ezra Miller as Flash, the Wonder Twins, and Super Friends.
Oh my God.
Cameo.
I think the music was my favorite part. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway.
So yeah, you'll recognize
yeah.
Dan Slott from all the things.
So many things.
Silver Surfer, Spider-Man.
It was interesting too was Iron Man 2020. There was a comic that came out recently that talked about.
This is what I want to talk about
Yeah.
here. So I mean, I can talk about the issue. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think it's like, I don't know. I'm in a mood this week, and nothing like really impressed me like crazy. But I thought this would be interesting.
Lincoln,
to talk
we call
about.
that tired.
Yeah, maybe I'm just tired. But and then I was like, shit, Iron Man 2020 checklist. What is this?
Damn, bro, we're going balls out, I guess.
Right.
Jeez.
And so I just finished Iron Man 2020 number 1. There's going to be a number 2. And then there's all these other Machine Man, Force Works, Rescue 2020, Iron Man 2020, Iron
Heart.
Age, Machine Man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
a lot.
this is very House of X Powers of 10. Because they, at the very end of their issue, and I mean, I'm sure more comics do this, but it was very much like, hey, read this, then go here, then go there. And especially now that they've branched off and they're doing, X-Force and New Mutants and all that stuff, they're really being like, hey, read these in order because it matters. So I'm wondering, like, this also must be the case. This is like, hey, to get to issue 5 of Iron Man 2020, make sure you read these other 8 or 12 issues so you're fully caught up to what big, like, plot story element thing we're going to do here, which I think is pretty cool. But man, they're really like getting people to commit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, I don't know. I always roll my eyeballs at robots and AI are evil, kind of. I'm a programmer, so I'm kind of like, no, they help people.
That sort of tech and
sure.
And like that's
what
we do.
A tale as old as time.
Yeah.
The robots are getting too smart. So that's like the premise of this kind of story. I'm not gonna spoil the big thing, which I don't know. I wasn't that.
It probably won't be that big of a deal.
No,
right?
I wasn't that big of a deal. But it, we do have the opportunity with this type of story to kind of make a statement on the current state of humanity and technological progress. And it may be laying that foundation, but I didn't get enough of it in issue 1.
Gotcha.
So it might get better. We'll see. But
so
I was just like, it's okay.
mostly just establishing a world where,
Iron Man's dead.
Iron Man's dead.
Yeah, they tell you they tell you even. Well, okay, so they tell you on the inside cover, but then there is even like a 2-page spread kind of right here, page 10, where the news is interviewing Iron Man. And God, man, my vision is I'm so old.
Same.
But basically they're interviewing Iron Man, and they're like, well, the sad truth is Tony Stark is dead and has been for some time. The version we all saw recently was his biological construct. So it's like that. Get over it. Iron Man's dead, or Tony Stark is dead.
Right.
So maybe you'll deal with some cool living in his shadow, but he still exists as this AI entity.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could get good, but I didn't get enough of that. moral consequences of how, like, how do we know we are kind
what
of.
Does it mean that, like,
what does it mean to be human?
Yeah, or like, what does it mean for this world that, like, one of the smartest, most technologically advanced beings on this world who used and developed all this tech, like, what does it mean that he's now gone?
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean for all this tech going forward? Is it going to be used the way that it should be used? Is it going to help us better defend ourselves against greater threats and all this sort of stuff? But
right now, the greater threats are other robots. So I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. We've seen Terminator a lot.
Yeah, or The Matrix, or Ghost in the Shell,
exactly.
or like any of those stories. So I'm like, well, we'll see.
Yeah, and I also, like, I don't know how much of a trend this is going to become to, like, kill characters, bring them back. I mean, it's been happening for years and years and years. But, like, at what point are we as comic book readers going to look at stories like this and, like, all right, we'll see you in 13 issues when you're somehow resurrected?
Enough with emotional manipulation.
Yeah, right? It's like, if you're going to kill Iron Man, just kill him. And, like, literally don't write a Tony Stark comic book for, like, 15 years and then bring him back.
I like, though, here's a cute little thing I just noticed, though.
Yeah.
If you look in the bottom left-hand corner here, there's drunk Tony Stark leaving New York liquor store.
Yeah.
And then, like, go F your...
Oh, my God. I mean...
So there was, like, a rumor, like, he's still alive, you know? But no, it's his AI...
Simulation.
Carrying out, like, his past behaviors.
Yeah. Upload file system. Stark Anthony.
Yep. Loudmouth alcoholic. Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, like, we've got, and now we're cinematically at the point where Tony Stark is dead. And every once in a while, I'll open Twitter and it'll be like, Robert Downey Jr. hints that Iron Man or Tony Stark may not be. I'm like, no, just be done with it. Just be done. I don't want this concept being adapted into a movie. Let it be done.
Maybe. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. must have sold his face and his body and his likeness and his voice. And maybe they will have an AI Stark in the rest of the movies.
Oh, Christ.
My gosh.
I really hope that we don't do that, because, like, I have always felt like Marvel has been really bad at committing to killing characters.
Sure.
And they'll kill them in a movie, but then they'll be back in, like, a future movie or a TV show. And I'm like, it's ballsy when you just do it and you just commit.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Come up with a new superhero. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like, it mentions Ironheart. You can, like, literally have any other character inherit this identity. And it's like, it's about the legacy of what the identity means to the world.
Yeah.
And not necessarily the person that is the character. Like, we learned that so much, especially from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
From Spider-Verse and Miles Morales and all these other amazing characters who inherit that role and that identity.
And with superheroes, I know there's this whole thing about, like, passing the title down, but like, if I heard from a disgruntled, like, Stark intern that was also, like, a computer science genius and they made their own character, like, that would be cool too. Like, there's different ways that you don't have to necessarily, like, pass on the mantle.
Right.
This is the logo, this is the name, this is the color scheme. It's all right. It could be a spiritual successor as well.
Someone was saying that they'd be okay with the AI of Stark being an advisor to Ironheart. I wouldn't hate it if, like, especially in a movie in the future, we had Ironheart and she develops her own AI that's like her Jarvis, and it has Tony Stark's, not necessarily personality, but his voice.
Yeah.
I would be a little more open to that, but I'm also kind of okay with just, like, not doing that too. And for a comic book, I think for a comic book, it's fine.
Yeah.
Comic book is like, you interpret the character to be however you want them to be. You're not going to read an Iron Man comic like, oh, it's Robert Downey Jr., because it's just like, this is just not how it works, because we have so many iterations of these characters by so many different writers.
Speaking of a different character and a different writer, I think that's a good segue into the new #1 Jessica Jones. So I'm going to exit this. I'm not going to exit this. I'm going to click the same button. I'm clicking exit reader. All right, here we go. I saw another Thumper tweeted out that they had this on their pull list.
Oh, nice.
So this is kind of really cool because
not for kids.
Brian Michael Bendis was the first and only person to write this character,
right.
And now this is the second person to write this character.
Oh, dang, only
and
second?
And she, it's cool this is a she, because it's a female character, Shiro, and her own book. So, and there's a letter about that, and I thought maybe we could talk about that.
So Jessica Jones has never had her own book before?
So, here we go.
I'm not the most like
I'm not
fluent on Marvel comic books.
I'm not
as
either.
Everybody knows who watches this show because I read most of the DC stuff.
If you pull up the little letter here that is too tiny, look,
my God.
I got a direct message on Twitter from Brian Michael Bendis asking if he could call me. That's a message you respond to right away. 5 minutes later on the phone, Brian was saying truly lovely things about my work and telling me that if I was interested, he was going to gently place his and Michael Gato's creation, the perfectly beautiful and perfectly messed up Jessica Jones, in my super dumb hands. Okay, so he definitely didn't put it exactly like that, but that's what my brain heard, especially the dumb part, because while I was excited beyond belief, I was also terrified. So it says, yeah, so it was a professional dream come true to get the opportunity to write Jessica Jones in her own book, but it was also terrifying. Jessica has never been written in her own series by anyone but Brian.
Wow.
So I was like, damn, this is like a big moment for her as the writer. I mean, like, that's a real
huge.
life hero.
You're literally inheriting, like, you're like the first generation to inherit this character.
Yeah, which has like a TV show now. Like, it's huge.
And will probably be soon rebooted in some new iteration of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Speaking of, how did you feel about the TV show? Because Zach and I were like, it's okay.
We've
been harsh critics. You know, The Watchmen came out and everything is just okay now because that show was good.
Watchmen just like blew everybody's
everybody's
off.
brains.
I liked so I only watched. Did I watch season? Were there 3 seasons of that show or just 2? I don't remember anymore.
Well, it felt like more because there was the Defenders.
That's true.
Yeah.
So like I liked her in Defenders. I mean, granted, like, you know, it's a show with everyone.
Sure.
So she only, just like all the other characters, they only have specific roles, which is fine. I liked season 1. I think the thing that overall has always bugged me with those Netflix shows is I always thought 13 episodes was too much.
Yeah.
So we got like through that halfway point between like episodes 8 and 11 where I'm like, this is starting to drag a little bit. But everything around that I did really like. I liked Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones. I liked the supporting cast a lot.
Yeah.
And I really was intrigued by the story and the character, Purple Man, that
he's played by Dave Tennant
was playing.
Who did a fantastic job.
So like it had all of those elements that I really, really loved. But I never got into the later seasons, which I think was just 2 and 3. I think it was one of those shows that ended up getting 3 seasons. But I never finished it.
So Zach and I, we both share the same opinion in that the actress Jessica Ritter.
Kristen Ritter,
Jessica Jones, Kristen Ritter. She's very willowy, and you're playing a character that can literally, like, break a sink by accident,
right?
You know, because you weren't looking, and it was less about you know, oh, she doesn't have muscles or whatever, and it was just the way she carried herself. Didn't carry herself kind of like oops, you know, and then just like broke a rock in half or something, or can stop a bus or that kind of thing. And I felt like all the characters around her were so much stronger than the main character, you know?
It kind of reminds me of like Trinity from The Matrix.
Yeah.
She like carries herself, and she...
Well, Hogarth is in Carrie Ann...
That's right.
Yeah, Moss is in... So you have this like badass lady who has played badass ladies in other movies. So like it's
that weight carries.
A lot of space to fill. You know what I mean? So you have that, and then also her best friend... blonde lady, Tracy starts with T. Like both of them carry themselves like, you know. So she seems like kind of, you know, like willowy compared to all these other like very strong characters. True. So we were kind of like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It feels like a need for like, you know, we need the female like loudmouth alcoholic kind of person. But so, you know, like there are a lot of male characters like that. So I'm glad it was made, but I felt like some of the other characters were more interesting.
Yeah.
So speaking of interesting, this sets off the story at the beginning. She is basically married to Luke Cage, and they have a daughter. So I was like, oh, cool. This is interesting. We're going to start off at the beginning. It's mommy Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
And it's really cute, and they have banter about buying the right cereal for their daughter. And it's I love it, you know. And I was like, okay, this is very different than the TV show. I'm sure the writer like knew that everybody would be thinking and comparing it to the TV show. So right off the bat, let's just start with like mom version of Jessica Jones. It's really cute. And then the premise of this is like she is possibly being framed for murder, and then Matt Murdock. Names.
So many.
I'm so tired, but I've gotten the first initial right the whole time.
MMLL
Yeah.
JJ. Like,
Tracy.
Trisha.
Sorry,
whatever
Trisha.
her name is. So many.
So Matt Murdock kind of barges in and helps her out, and then I don't know if I want to spoil this. Here, let's take this down, and I'm gonna. Do you care about this? I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you the panel, and then it's a cliffhanger. It's emotionally manipulative, but is what's happened.
No, what the fuck?
At the end there, she's like, I am nervous. And then, you can see, right there.
Interesting.
And that's how it ends the first issue. And you're like, I didn't know enough for you to do that. So now I don't know. It's a very risky, a very risky ending.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was earned. So
I would assume, and I might be wrong.
I feel like it's like a trick. You know?
It's that, or it's like, well, it's hard to say without. Well, whatever. If I tell you that it's like a dream sequence, that doesn't really give anything away.
Yeah. It's one of those. All right. So when I read issue 2, it was all a dream.
And that's sometimes is my issue.
Or it's from the future.
Like sometimes that's my problem with comic books is when they try too hard to be cliffhangery.
I feel like it's cheap.
Yeah. Like I'm like, you don't need to like. If I'm into the first 21 pages, I'm already hooked.
Right.
And you don't really need to like dig
do
it
that.
deeper.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like, I know some of you have this in your pool because at least one person tweeted it at me, their picture of their number one. When you read it at me, because I want to know how you felt about the ending of Jessica Jones, issue number 1, last page. But comic books do this stuff to us all the time.
The next issue, it's going to be like, it's going to start and it's going to pretend like nothing's happening.
Oh, that was okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that happened.
Some people are saying like, will we see them in the MCU though? I think so.
Jessica Jones?
I mean, just any of those Defenders characters. I do think so. I mean, they're bringing in She-Hulk, and I think that there is a very interesting way that you could tie Matt Murdock into that world now that we're going to deal with like superhero law. I think you could do it, but we'll see.
Did you have anything that you wanted to show off? Otherwise, I have this one. I also read this one.
The Bad Place?
The Bad Place.
Let's look at that.
Okay. All right. I wouldn't say never, but I haven't in a long time read a comic book that was like, oh, this needs to be a animated TV show or a movie. So check this out. We'll go to the beginning. I only read the first 60 pages, which is quite a bit. It's a 120-page book.
Oh, my God.
So
see, you're brave because when I see those, I'm like, not right now.
Well, I prefer graphic novels over the single issues because I don't know. I'm like a addictive reader, and come on, scroll to the beginning, load faster.
Really slow.
Yeah. Anyways, basically, there's this comic book. It's called The Bad Place. It's a little indie thing, and it is. If you love things like Beetlejuice, or Tim Burton, or any kind of
Malika,
like.
you said Beetlejuice, and I just went.
Yeah.
How many times
So I mean, like, look at the art. It's like this creepy, weird stuff, right? Creepy, weird
definitely
stuff.
Got this like Burton vibe.
Yeah, and the premise of this story, like I said, I only read the first half. I had like about 60 pages. Let's see if it loads.
You made it so mad by scrolling.
I know, I did. It had to like load all this beautiful art. Yeah, it's like British. It's creepy. It's weird, but in a dark, like fairy tale kind of way.
Okay.
Like there are some messed up things that happen here, but if I was a kid, especially if I was like 12 years old or 13 years old, I would like love how like fucked up the comic book is. That being said, if you're a parent and then you give this to your kid without reading it, don't at me.
That's your
I warned
problem.
you. And it's called like Fairway Hills or Faraday Hills or something. And in this like creepy British town, there is a manor, and people are drawn to this manor because when they go there, they kind of get what they always wanted. And so there's these little vignettes, these short stories that an old man is telling about what happened to little old Susie who went there or whatever. I don't remember names right now. And the one that like really stuck out to me the most was, a woman wanted to be beautiful. And it goes through this like gruesome operation of how, and it's I can maybe pull up the pages if they will load. All right, we'll see.
In another world.
Yeah, in another world. Oh, here it is. Oh, this one right here. You can kind of see the thumbnail. All right. So. Oh, yay. There's a vulva. Warnings.
Oh.
There's a vulva.
Well, too late.
Well,
it's already on screen.
like I said,
not for your kids.
If I was 13, I totally would read stuff like this. I'd be like, oh, it's so gritty. This is really disturbing. Yeah, it's like there's a woman who she goes to this house. She wants to be beautiful, live the dream through a miracle of modern surgery. And she has her spine extended because she wants to be taller. Her eyes are tinted. Even her vulva and pubic regions are reconfigured until she is beautiful. And it's this very grotesque imagery, right? And basically this like old piratey character tells the stories. And
Tim Burton's gonna make this one day.
Yes, it's like a Tim Burton. Like if you like this kind of like creepy, cute, weird stuff. There's another one where I think it was somebody, and if you find out it's like the pirate's family or something, was buried up to their neck, and they're in the middle of a cemetery, buried up to their neck, blowing a bugle. And if you didn't hear the bugle, they would have been stuck there. And so when they try to bury them out, you find out worms have been eating up, munching on the body the whole time. And you're like, oh, what's going to be left of the body as you're digging this person out? Gross. So like this kind of stuff, I almost like, I want to see it as a movie, like a creepy, like like Coraline, like stop motion. I want to hear like the worms, like, I feel like this kind of stuff is what really excels. And I wonder if this was written to be like, and now I'm shopping it around as a movie.
I mean, I feel like Zach and I talk about this all the time. It feels like everything that's being made right now in comic book or graphic novel form is like, you are trying to make this into a TV show, aren't you slimy bastard?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
But good for you if you get it made.
So yeah, it's kind of like Kolak in that people are drawn to this house because it offers what they truly desire, and when they get there, it's some kind of like hell or purgatory. And then the mystery goes kind of deeper, that you find out that this like piratey old guy that is telling these stories, he knows these stories because he's kind of witnessed them, and that he's like hundreds of years old, and his family was the one that kind of like started it all. And it was because like one mother like lost their son and wants to take revenge on the whole town for like centuries. So it's, it's got this like fun, creepy, gross kind of look at the characters, look at the art. I think you can kind of get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I have a small pet peeve in that sometimes the text is a little hard to read.
Yeah, it kind of just looks like it's like someone very frantically wrote it in.
I'm a maniac, and at times is very British.
It looks like Shaggy.
Yeah.
It's all like Scoob.
Yeah, it is like they're going into the house, mysterious things happen in the house. Ooh, there's a song playing. I'm drawn to it for some reason.
It definitely has a very, I don't want to say unique, but like unique to what you're normally used to reading. If all you read is like Marvel and DC or Star Wars, you're going to look at this and go like, oh, this is a very much like a different type of like tone. Was that me?
Your phone is probably talking to you? No.
Hello, phone.
All right. So I got a few more books I want to talk about. Overall, like Tim Burton and that kind of stuff isn't my favorite genre of kind of work, but if it is yours, you may want to check out The Bad Place.
If you're into it, check it out.
Yeah. This is something that I've been really enjoying.
I remember you and I talked about this the last time we did this show together.
Well, this is issue 7.
You were on issue 1.
Yeah, but I read I
really liked it.
1 through 4.
Yeah.
And now I just kind of skipped ahead to 7.
I mean, is it one of those that you need all the context? It doesn't seem like it.
As long as you get the basic premise, which is a girl moves to LA to go to university, and then she finds this house that are full of dead people.
Yeah.
And
I really like the first issue.
Yes, and I love at the end of the issue, it shows the comic book writer's favorite places in LA.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's right.
Since this is comics and coffee, she lists her favorite places to get coffee in Los Angeles. Boom! Ghosted in LA. Thank you. Dinosaur
Alfred,
Coffee.
There's Alfred Coffee and Tea.
Maru Coffee, Bricks and Scones, and then honorable mentions to Verb, Terra Mia, and Tilt Coffee. I've only been to Terra Mia and Alfred, so I think I'm going to check out some of these other ones.
Alfred's got that good.
And then she wrote why she likes him. Mm-hmm. Well, no, it's the truck that parks outside of Alfred.
Yeah, I forget what it's called.
Yeasty Boys. Yeasty Boys, LA.
Yeah.
And it has a lot going for it. I think it's really cool. So her ex-boyfriend comes out as gay, and then there's some story of like coming of age, finding yourself in university. I really like the art. I just revealed a big thing. But they talk about like LGBTQIA club, at school. It's very diverse. It's really inclusive. And then this character at the beginning, she had one of the new people in the house. Some of the people who are ghosts in the house, they died like, in the 40s.
Yeah.
This is a new girl who died because she OD'd.
Shit.
And it's like in the first like couple pages.
Yeah.
So it's super sad, and like she just partied a little too hard. She was in a band.
It's not afraid to like.
No, I like went there, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Fuck," because it's kind of like, they're just having a crazy night.
Yeah.
And then boom.
Hey, don't we all?
Yeah. And so I'm like, F. So yeah, it's like cute, but it also has like some like heart and also some like being real.
Yeah.
And there's a deeper mystery also within kind of the all the people who live there and kind of the matron of the house. But I'm actually more interested in some of the new people who have died and like how are they coping with that. So
I mean,
it's a very cute series from
just
Boom.
Based on like how much limited I've read of this series, it feels like it does a really great job of tying in like, here are part of like my real stories like while living in LA.
Right.
But let's throw in a little bit of like
Ghosts.
mystery and ghosts and thriller and horror and just all these fun little different genres like supernatural and all that sort of stuff that I think like at a certain point you start to not care about like what's real and what's not, like what actually happened to this person, and you're just kind of more invested in the characters in the story.
Oh, absolutely.
And how they're how much of a different like Rolodex of characters you can have in something like this, which I think is fun.
Yeah, it's super fun, and I want to support more things like that. And LA, it's a LA story.
I personally have not read, I don't think, any comic book yet that deals with LA in that sort of way.
Yeah,
that really talks about like the like living in. Most of the stuff that we read about is like I was reading Blade Runner, like that is LA, but it's completely disconnected from our current Los Angeles. Like this kind of ties in more into like modern LA, and the fact that the writer at the end talks about like where they like to go for coffee or for shopping or for anything. I like that. I think that's really, really cool. So if you pick it up and you ever want to come to LA, be like, well, this comic that I love has plenty of references that I can look into.
Yes, and if you're a newcomer to LA, it's a story about a newcomer to LA.
Exactly.
So I couldn't find the book on Comixology, but I wanted to have a quick chat with you as we have a few more minutes. I started.
Malika and I are good at stretching time.
I found this really cute anime. I say it's 80% like dumb, cutesy fan service crap, and 20% actually interesting conversations about gender roles. I'm not saying that they do them right. I just think that the series itself, by the premise of the story, has a really interesting conversation about gender roles. So it was just added to Netflix. It's called Maid Sama, and it's about a class president who has a secret part-time job as a maid at a maid cafe, and none of the other students at this mostly used to be an all-boys school. None of the students at her school know about her secret part-time job except for one guy who's like the cute one. So it's a rom-com, but I think it's she doesn't want the other students to know about her job because she thinks the other students won't respect her as class president. So I think it's really interesting. If you've read manga or comic books like Utena. It's a archetype from anime and manga, which is like the girl prince that like rescues other women from other men, which I think is very appealing to some women to read, where it's like, I don't need to have a good guy save me from the bad guy. I'm going to have this like awesome girl that's strong, that inspires me to kind of, rescue me from like, the sexual harassment at school. So I think it's really cute. And like I said, there's like this 10 to 20% of every episode that is interesting, but I enjoyed it so much and I wanted more. I have 2 episodes left that I sought out the manga to read so that when Zach is asleep and he can't, I don't want to bother him with the TV. I turn off the anime version and I go and I read the manga version. And
that's
it's
smart.
Yes, and it's very interesting to see like what they kept and what they didn't.
Yeah.
There's definitely a little bit more sexy stuff in the manga.
Because you can.
But I wonder if there's anything that you watched like on Netflix or on TV or movies recently where you liked it enough that you sought out the original source material, whether it be a comic book or a book.
Damn, that's a really good question.
Because it's so dumb, but it's so like, this is so interesting. And I've never, I don't want to say never, but I haven't related to a character like this in a long time.
Well, not that I've actively gone to seek it out, but it definitely made me want to go read it or reread it.
Yeah.
For me, for sure, number 1 was Watchmen, the show, elevating the graphic novel for me and me wanting to go back and really like refresh on it, because I feel like I know the movie better than the graphic novel only because I've seen it more times, but I definitely want to like dive into more of like the actual graphic novel story and some of the things that they do specifically that like is then influenced in the show. Another big one for me was Dr. Sleep. Because I loved the movie, and the movie does the job of tying to Dr. Sleep the book, but also tying back to The Shining, both of the book and the movie. And I thought it did because I read up a little bit about like what they changed and things that they did that are in the book or are not in the book. And I felt like they did an incredible job of kind of like taking 3 different sources and making one movie that honors 3 different things. And I felt like that's a hard thing all in itself, because most people, when they watch an adaptation of a book, most people hate it because it removes or changes a bunch of stuff. And it seems like Dr. Sleep was the one of the few King movies that a lot of people saw and were like, man, this does an incredible job of honoring that book, changing it up, but also honoring Kubrick's Shining and Stephen King's book. So like that's a book, both books. I want to read Shining and Dr. Sleep, that I really want to just like sit down on a weekend, and whether it's reading it or just listening to the audiobook in just like pure silence and distraction free, because it's such an interesting world and an interesting universe. And Dr. Sleep definitely leans into more supernatural and like fantasy, whereas the Shining movie doesn't. So I really want to experience those books back to back and see just how similar or different they are.
Little PSA, if watching the Watchmen show has got you interested, there's an app that you can get called Libby through your local library, and you just log in with your local library card and you can read the Watchmen for free through Libby. So just like, for those of you who are like, man, I want to read all these comics but budget, there are ways to get comic books for free, and many local libraries have started collecting like graphic novels and stuff like that, especially like the ones that I feel like are literary works, like the Watchmen, so you can get them that way as well. Yeah,
I mean, I was lucky enough that when I was growing up, Star Wars books were huge, the expanded universe. So whenever I go into a library, I didn't really find too many comic books or graphic novels, but man, Star Wars books were like everywhere. But that's good to know, and I always forget about that because like now we're older, so I honestly have not been to a library, like a proper library, in over a decade.
Yeah.
And like they're still around. They exist.
But they've modernized. So even though we don't live in Glendale, we live close enough that I've been able to get a library card from Glendale. They have a maker space.
Wow.
They teach sewing classes, 3D printing classes. There's career development, like, oh, you want to learn Photoshop or Premiere. There's research libraries. They have all these apps. There's not only Libby, but there's an app called Hoopla, which is free movies. Some of them are actually not weird and obscure and only educational. There's like entertainment movies in there. So your local library is a fantastic resource. And if you haven't gone in a long time, a lot of them have modernized themselves to what people want. So it's very interesting.
And I think that one in Glendale is pretty new too, right?
Yes, it's awesome.
I gotta go to it. I used to live in Glendale, and like that library was under construction for a long time, and then I moved. I'm like, well, I'll never get to see this.
Well, it's across the street from the mall too, so you can just do mall
super
stuff.
Convenient.
And
I know.
it's in a very nice space. But
it is.
And also, oftentimes, depending on where you live, your county may have a library system, and then your city may also have its own library system.
True.
And then if you're in a university student, then it has your own library system as well. So between those three, you can have like a wealth of resources, like right at your fingertips.
Boom. See, Malika has more knowledge than Zach and I do, so you're better suited for this show than we
are. It's not a contest. I'm just bookish, okay? I got the glasses. I'm bookish.
I do, but I'm not bookish.
I
should be.
I also spend a lot of time watching trash anime, so that's something.
We all have our things. We all got to scratch our niches every once in a while. But guys, stay tuned. It's now 6 p.m. We're going to go downstairs for the Witcher RPG. Yeah, there you go.
Toss a coin.
There you go. Look at there he goes. Geralt is going down the stairs.
Oh, wow. He colored his beard this time.
Wow. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, head on over to twitch.tv/hyperrpg. This is the second week, 2 of 4, of our Witcher RPG that we are doing with an awesome cast of characters. They come prepared in full regalia.
I heard there's a song this week.
Oh, damn. But jump on over. If you're on Twitch, stay tuned. We'll be right back for The Witcher.
Bye.
Bye-bye.